Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and a Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names. AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe. Right. I don't think it's a great football team, but still a ranked team. And then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule I may have ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Got that top of the hour power right here on the Early Line SportsGrid Network. It's how we do it. We set the table for the rest of your SportsGrid day. The energy is high. The caffeine is here. Crack open another Monster. Pour another cup of coffee because we got another hour on deck that's going to be action-packed. And we got to have it. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Ranieri. It's always how we get down, Joe. The hottest topics. You know how we do it. Let's get the people here. It's an early day. Tomorrow's hump day. Then another NFL week starts here. A huge college football weekend, which, by the way, much, much better games than what we saw the previous week here. There's a lot to be excited for here, Joe.
There is. I mean, it's rinse and repeat now, Donnie, right? So we've got, we get to work early in the week here, getting ready for week 3 in college. Week 2 of the NFL, trying to gather all the injury news, who's hurt, who's not, trying to figure out the overreactions. A lot, and I mean a lot to do here over the next 48 hours, but that's why you got us here on the SportsGrid Network.
Is exactly why you have us here, the 7 and 7, the hottest sports topics across the sports landscape here, which included last night's Monday Night Football battle, a battle of the midway, the Vikings and the Chicago Bears. And for 3 quarters, hey, man, maybe the Bears got something here. That revamped defense looks pretty good. Caleb Williams making just enough plays to get a victory here, and it all fell apart in the fourth quarter. The Vikings, 27, the Bears, 24. J.J. McCarthy looked like he's never played football before and then turns on in the fourth quarter. 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown, accumulates 3 touchdowns himself, and away you go to a victory. Very impressed with J.J. McCarthy's fourth quarter, not so much in the first 3 quarters, and a lot to be desired from those Chicago Bears last night, Joe.
Yeah, and especially from a discipline standpoint. And if you want to know how you can melt away a game at home that you are thoroughly in control of, rack up 127 yards and flags, and you see what happens. You keep giving a team life and an opportunity, and that's exactly what the Bears did. But kudos. I mean, this is more than anything else. You didn't have to wait long, Vikings fans, to see what this kid is made of, because when everything, and I mean everything, was going wrong for 3 quarters, he never lost faith, stuck with the game plan. He's got, and I say it all the time, Donnie, right? Coaching matters in the NFL. The right coach, the right quarterback at the right time. And you saw that in the fourth quarter in a huge division rivalry game on the road. Things are looking up for the Vikings here.
It's kind of crazy, too, when you look at the box score, right? You had 51 total points. So you figure like some guys lit it up. Like Jordan Mason, leading rusher for the Vikings, 68 yards. For Chicago, 58 yards for Caleb Williams, who's a quarterback, 53 for Swift. The wide receiver position, hey, Justin Jefferson did get in, but only 4 catches and 44 yards, only 7 targets in that game. DJ Moore, 3 catches for 68 yards. So not a lot going on the landscape of, hey, we got to get some of these players and put up big numbers, even though we had 51 total points. But credit the Vikings. That's a road victory in the NFL. That's tough to do. A primetime game with a rookie quarterback, technically in the game, and away they go. We'll see what they do week number 2, because as we talked about, week 1 to week 2 in the NFL, a little bit squirrely here. Some of these guys, now you got some film on, maybe they get better, maybe they take a little bit of a step back. We'll certainly be watching that in week number 2. Philadelphia Eagles hope they got a little bit better by adding to their running back room with Tank Bigsby here. Very good kick returner, solid backup running back. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to add talent here in 2025.
Gotta love it. Yeah, I mean, good backup now for Barkley. It's interesting. You had to give up a couple of draft picks, Donnie, in order to get them, there. But I think it's win-win. I mean, he was expendable for Jacksonville, and they got a couple of guys in return, and now Barkley's got a legit backup.
Yeah, no doubt about it here. And we'll see what happens and we move forward with the Eagles. You know, they love that ground and pound attack. Just got maybe a little bit more depth in that backfield. We'll see how it turns out for the Birds moving forward. But how's it going to turn out this weekend for the New Orleans Saints? Maybe they could pick up a victory. Oh, no, the 49ers are coming to town. You can't beat them. Brock Purdy, questionable for this game. We'll see how he practices this week. George Kittle, he's probably down a month. And we're still waiting to see if they're all that wear and tear on Christian McCaffrey in week number 1. Not necessarily a great ground game, but a lot of use in the passing game. How he turns out. The Dome will be rocking in New Orleans. The question is, who's actually showing up to pay or play when that Dome is rocking down in New Orleans, Joe?
And that's the big problem, Donnie, right? I mean, how many more injuries can this team get with here over the last couple of seasons? But the good news is, if there's anything, is that McCaffrey played last week and played well. So they are going to need him in a big way if they can't get Purdy going here. This is not a good situation right now for the 49ers, but hopefully, just hopefully, Purdy can go here. I wouldn't rule him out just yet.
No, and football players are tough at this point. You know he wants to play here. We'll see if it's going to be Mac Jones when it's all said and done, but maybe a chance for the New Orleans Saints to get an early victory, which you thought they probably get smoked in this game. Injuries always level the playing field, which is a perfect segue to the next topic, and the Philadelphia Phillies. You take a look at injuries to the Phillies. Well, Trey Turner was leading the National League in hits. He's down for at least probably 2 to 3 weeks, which will cover the remaining parts of the regular season. They hope to get him back for the playoffs. Alec Boehm, same things. Shoulder injury. He goes down the second time on a stint for the IL. But the Philadelphia Phillies, Joe, last night picked up a 1-0 victory with a great pitching performance for Aaron Nola and a high wire act in the 9th inning by Johan Duran. 1 innings pitched, 2 hits, left runners on second and third, got a key strikeout with 1 out there, and then certainly the final out of the game as well. Big time win for the Philadelphia Phillies. The offense wasn't there, but Aaron Nola certainly was.
Yeah, he was, and I guess the word of his demise a little premature there, Donnie, because it had not been good over the last month since he came off the IL. But wow, he has figured some things out there. A hot-hitting Mets team, too, that he basically shut down, and that's exactly the kind of effort they needed out of him. Listen, the sooner they can wrap up this division, Donnie, right, the better. Then they can start resting a lot of guys getting ready for the postseason.
Exactly. They got the Dodgers coming up and still a couple games left with the Mets. But that game last night was like, okay, it's an 8-game lead. You're probably not going to lose that. And, basically with 2/3 of September left. That means the Mets will probably have to play perfect baseball and you have to go in the tank. But the questions now are not, hey, what can you do the rest of the season? It's what are you going to do in the playoffs and can you be healthy? Already down Zach Wheeler. That really hurts the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll see how they play over the next couple weeks here. The Dodgers playing with fire, but in a good way. You always want to throw no-hitters here. It gives your chance a team to win. 3-1 victory yesterday for the Dodgers, but yet again, a chance to close down a no-hitter in the 9th inning. Weren't able to do it.
It's kind of crazy that we have not had a no-hitter in Major League Baseball this year, and yet the Dodgers have made it to the 9th inning for 2 times in the last 3 days, Donnie, with a no-hitter intact, with an opportunity to get it done. In one game, they ended up losing in the 9th with 2 outs as the Orioles walked them off. And then last night, even though they gave up the hit, they were able to get the win. But that's 2 times in 3 games. That's just crazy.
Pods walk it off against the Reds yesterday here. Shame, a good pitching performance for the Reds starting pitcher Nick Lodolo ends up for naught. Extra inning win for the Padres as they try to stay in the race in the NL West and hunt down those Los Angeles Dodgers.
They're going to need to keep winning games. I think it's going to be a battle right to the end there, but it was good to see the Padres get it done there last night for you, Darvish.
And also, a sad story here, as we brought up in hour number one, also, sister of Timberwolves Naz Reid allegedly slain by a boyfriend here. You never want to see these type of tragedies, and also understanding where you're trying to get ready for a basketball season and you lose a loved one in your family. That's always going to be weighing there. Naz Reid, only 24 years old, been in the NBA quite some time already. It feels like sixth man of the year, big-time paycheck here, but, boy, just a tragic situation there in New Jersey.
Yeah, I just awful thoughts and prayers, of course, with him and the family here. It's everybody's nightmare, and it's just so unnecessary and unfortunate.
Absolutely, it is. It really is. So certainly thoughts and prayers there out to the Reed family here. Hopefully everything gets better from here on. He has a great NBA season, and certainly they can move on as a family. But next up, we're going to talk more NFL. Let's get into J.J. McCarthy and what it means possibly for the Vikings' future and also the Bears. We'll be right back.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at it through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
If a game is on the line,
give me the Navy kicker.
Oh,
the guy's going into battle in 2 weeks. He can't make an extra point. Come on.
From a mindset perspective, yeah. I'm not. Listen, we thank them for their service. I love them. Okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you have a bet and you have an academy kicker with a field goal or an extra point, you got to hold your breath.
27 yards. You know,
27 yards. The kid shanked it from like 30.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
What a night it was in Chicago. A lot of debuts. Ben Johnson, new offensive coordinator / head coach for Caleb Williams here. Looked like it was going to be a victory and a winning night for the Chicago Bears that went up in smoke. J.J. McCarthy making his first debut here, regular season, in year number 2 for the Minnesota Vikings. An impressive fourth quarter, which he accounted for 3 touchdowns. But I don't really care about the Minnesota Vikings right now. I want to focus on the Chicago Bears. And we have some comments here for Ben Johnson reflecting on the loss.
Way to start the season there for us. we just have a 17-6 lead and then see it go the way it did there in the fourth quarter. We said going into week one that the team that would make the least number of mistakes would win the game, and unfortunately we were on the wrong side of that. We made too many there late in the game, myself included. There were a number of things that I could have done better, a number of things that a number of guys could have done better. When you look down at the stat sheet and you see 12 penalties, that's got to get cleaned up in a hurry, and yet we've been saying that all training camp as well. So the defense did a really good job up until the very end. That fourth quarter, things got away from us a little bit, but up until then, they kept us in that ball game. Offense was stalling out, some good, some bad. I thought Caleb played well to start the game for the most part, finding completions. No one's going to feel sorry for us. It's going to be a quick turnaround here to get going for next Sunday in Detroit, our first road game. And so we got to turn the page here quickly.
Ben Johnson is right about one thing. It is a quick turnaround. You open up at home on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. You want to win that division, you got to win that game. They didn't. Now they go on the road, another divisional opponent, and the worst-case scenario for them is Detroit got embarrassed in week number 1, now coming home. They know they have to win this game. If the Chicago Bears open up this season at 0-2, Joe, a lot of teams don't recover and make the playoffs from that. I'm not saying they can't play good football the rest of the way, but you lose to Detroit and go 0-2, not only on the season, but in your own division, I don't think you can climb out of that.
No, I don't think you can. Now, they were a little banged up yesterday in the secondary, this Bears defense, but there's no excuse for them to have melted the way they did there in the fourth quarter. But I think, listen, Coach was right. 127 yards and penalties. And the fact that that was a problem in the preseason and it carries over into game 1, Donnie, that's a coaching problem here. Also, where was Caleb Williams? We saw J.J. McCarthy turning around in the fourth quarter, right, as a young quarterback. Where was Williams when it mattered the most in the fourth quarter here? I think what you see sometimes is what you get. I don't think the coach, whoever you bring in with Chicago, they're still going to have some issues at that quarterback position moving forward.
And also understand this, too. You had Jared Goff, and you had weapons at every position in Detroit, but Jared Goff was a pure pocket passer. Like, if you protected him, which the Lions had a very good offensive line, and he could stand and deliver in the pocket. You didn't get that from Caleb Williams. I thought he bailed out of the pocket a lot, which usually when you have legs and you're a young player in the NFL, that you feel like you can make better moves outside the pocket and extend plays. That's one thing. But also the NFL is built on timing. Everybody's good on defense. You have to throw 1, 2, 3, hit that back foot, get that football out. Not 1, 2, 3, let me see what's going on. Let me run outside the pocket. Way too much street ball yesterday from Caleb Williams for me. Maybe he gets that figured out. But Ben Johnson, understand this too. Like, that's a big divisional game, but Ben Johnson is going home to Detroit in that next football game, Joe. How big is that for him, where he doesn't want to get embarrassed and lose, but my goodness, there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of feelings in that building on Sunday.
Yeah, no, there certainly is here, and it's going to be a tough spot. They're going to need to get a little healthier on that defensive side. They're going to need their stud quarterback, Johnson, before it's all said and done. But listen, Detroit's going through some issues as well, and as crazy as it may seem, still feels like maybe both teams and their defenses are ahead of the offenses here at this point.
Now, the Chicago Bears have an interesting, marriage with the city, let's say, with Soldier Field. Like, hey, we're going to put in money for the stadium, but the Bears don't actually play for the field itself. It's maintained by the city of Chicago, notorious for decades from having terrible playing surfaces. And we might thought we would have saw one last night. The field really wasn't an issue, but now the issue is the Chicago Bears going, okay, we renovated the stadium, I think, back in 2023. 20 years is up. We want a new stadium. We could stay here, renovate this, or we can move out to Arlington Heights, which is just outside the city limits of Chicago. I don't care where the Bears move their football team, but there's just something about, Joe, being in Chicago, windy city, temperatures that are always cool. That's part of the Bears' mystique here. And now they say they want to build a dome, which would take away that mystique. Is it better for the fans? I mean, to get a warmer environment here. Is it better for a quarterback saying, oh, I don't want to play in cold weather? Yes. But the Bears, man, it's just like that whole NFC North. Like, you're going to have now Detroit in a dome. You're going to have Minnesota in a dome. You're going to have the Bears in a dome. And then sooner than later, hey, they'll never get rid of Yankee Stadium. They did. They knocked that thing down and built a terrible Yankee Stadium Part 2 in New York. The only thing we're waiting on now is like a new Fenway or a new Wrigley Field. How can we do this in Chicago? Because then it lends us up to believe that Lambeau Field in 10 years, they'll have a dome as well. Come on, man.
Listen, it can't be about the ticket sales, right? Because here's the thing. If you put a winning product on the field with the Bears, they will come. The fans will pack that place out, Donnie. So
when they stink,
they'll always sell out. I mean, just invest that money into actually, I don't know, building the offensive line that can protect your quarterback. How's that? Why don't we start there? I don't understand, where is the home field advantage that you get with Chicago, right? Having those games there when West Coast teams come in or whatever. I mean, I don't get it, but I'm sure just follow the money and you'll have a pretty good explanation as to why they're looking at it.
Yeah, follow the money on this too. When they talk about we want to get a Super Bowl here, understand this NFL. There should be a rotation of like 4 cities all in warm weather. The Eagles won a Super Bowl in Minnesota. It was horrendous. You couldn't even go outside that week. Who wants to party there? When Jacksonville gets Super Bowl, nobody wants to go there. Detroit got a Super Bowl. What is there to do in Detroit? Go downtown and have a Little Caesars pizza and head back to your room at that point? Nobody wants a Super Bowl in Chicago. Not a single person. So don't tell me you want to build this dome stadium in hopes to get a Super Bowl that nobody will want to go to because it's freezing cold in February in Chicago. Enough said at that point right now. I'm done with this. Exactly. Look at the new Lambeau Field in a dome in 2035. Great. Green Bay wants a Super Bowl. Put it in a dome. Nonsense at this point right now. I'm getting upset, but I want to talk more NFL. Don't build a dome, Chicago. Don't do it, please.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The reason why I feel like Jared Goff doesn't really enter these MVP conversations. Jared Goff last year was on the team with the best record in football, threw for 4,700 yards, 37 touchdowns, and Tom was never in the race. He was never in the race because we know he's not that guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
We're going to talk Major League Baseball in just a few segments here. A lot of good stuff on the card. Still, you can make some money in the month of September. Don't you dare turn your back on that Major League Baseball season. But we do have to bring that attention to week number 2 action in the NFL and those opening lines, which does include a Sunday night football game. How about all the primetime work here right now here for the Minnesota Vikings? You saw them last night on Monday Night Football pick up a victory. Now they'll be on Sunday Night Football as 1-0 victors here heading back home. Skol, skol, skol. as a favorite between 4.5 to 5.5 over the Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix. Michael Penix and the crew had a tough, hard-fought loss at home to Tampa Bay. Make some field goals, make some better plays, win a football game. They couldn't do that. But Penix and McCarthy, two younger quarterbacks in the NFL, going to tee it up for a little Sunday night football action, Joe.
Yeah, well, this is going to be interesting, right? Because two dome teams, ironically enough, Donnie, they're playing in Minnesota. And I thought, listen, Penix looked the part. He really did. He just didn't get a lot of help, certainly on the defensive side of the ball for Atlanta, which is ironic given the fact that they spent all their entire offseason trying to build up the defensive side. And yeah, it didn't work against Baker Mayfield. I look at this matchup where I've got Brian Flores, the DC of Minnesota, and a young quarterback in Atlanta. Yeah, something tells me it could be a long day for Atlanta and Penix against this defense of Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense looks good. There's no doubt about it. That place is a tough place to play because it is a dome and it is really loud. They'll be excited with Minnesota having that comeback victory on Monday night. But still, a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, how much of that momentum can he carry over from that big fourth quarter? We'll certainly find out. NFL doubleheader on Monday Night Football. One at 7 o'clock. That's Tampa Bay and Houston. One at 10 o'clock. That is the Chargers versus the Raiders here. If we focus on game number one, Houston, tough loss to the Los Angeles Rams, hard-fought battle, low-scoring, good defensive. And then you take a look at Tampa Bay. Needed to make some plays. Ibuka with 2 touchdowns here, the young rookie wide receiver. The favorite, the Houston Texans at -2.5. This game, again, takes place on Monday Night Football, the first game of a doubleheader, and a total of 43.5. Tampa, Houston, what gives?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Houston defensively, great showing there on the road against the Rams, a place which we all know there's not really a great home field advantage there, but there's still something not right about this offense of Houston there, Donnie. I mean, Stroud looked good at parts, but then he didn't. The adjustments they were making with the Rams and that young defense, he looked rattled again. I'm still not buying Stroud here. I think there could be some issues, especially with a lack of any sort of running game or downfield capability. I think Houston needs to win this game, but I think it's going to come down to, one of those last-minute field goal types of situations, and we all know kicking is for losers.
Yeah, squaring up that 43.5. There's so many professional kickers here. Had terrible weeks here making layup field goals. It is what it is at this point. Maybe that college epidemic is creeping in now to the NFL. Game number 2 of that doubleheader on Monday Night Football. The Los Angeles Chargers, who had a great Week 1 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, now going to take on the Vegas Raiders, went on the road and handled their business in New England. A 10 o'clock start live from Vegas. The favorites here, the Chargers, anywhere between 3 and 3.5, depending where you're shopping at, in a total that's listed at 46.5. Good football. 2 teams in the West, both 1-0.
Yeah, no, I mean, outstanding, win for the Raiders, but they did it never easy on the road at Foxborough. Defense showed up. And of course, look at the stat line of Geno Smith, Donnie, right? We see this all the time from him. He beats up on bad teams, gains all of these yards. Everything looks great. And then he plays an actual real defense and a real team. And all of a sudden, his numbers aren't as good here. I think the Chargers will handle business in this game. I think they'll do it by more than a 3 as well, too, when it's all said and done.
Week 3, Joe, I love in the NFL. That's when I really dip my toes in the water. Having fun, looking at some prop bets, win some, lose some at this point. How do you approach week number 2? What can you give the people for a little tidbit on how to approach it by going like, you know what? Week 1 could have been a mirage on some of these spots.
Don't overreact. Week 2 is a fantastic contrarian week in the NFL.
It really is.
Watch the public go over the top and over or underreact to a lot of situations this week, and then figure out which those games are, highlight them, or we'll tell you all week long here, and look to go the other way. When the public goes left in week 2, we're going to go right, Donnie.
Ooh, I like to see it here. That's the way we get down, and Major League Baseball's on the docket next. Let's handicap some of these games and get some W's.
all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The reason why I feel like Jared Goff doesn't really enter these MVP conversations. Jared Goff last year was on the team with the best record in football, threw for 4,700 yards, 37 touchdowns, and Tom was never in the race. He was never in the race because we know he's not that guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go, people. There's Major League Baseball. I know you love your NFL. I know you love your college football, but I love me some Major League Baseball, particularly in the month of September when everybody's eyes go over to the NFL and college football. I still have at least one of those peering at Major League Baseball. We're going to do that again tonight, Joe, from the city of brotherly love. A 1-0 game last night. Aaron Nola was the superstar, and the Phillies are now up 8 games over the New York Mets in the NL East. Minaya on the mound, the lefty, hasn't had a very good season, to say the least. Ranger Suarez, very good season for the Philadelphia Phillies, as the Phillies show up here overnight, minus 140s, minus 145s. That's dipped back here to a minus 130 price and a total that's listed at 8.5. The Phillies are punchless right now at the plate, losing a couple key batters in that lineup. But the one thing that always seems to stick out is that Phillies pitching staff on a night-to-night basis is usually pretty good. I look at this game, Joe, and I say, I don't know if we get the 9 runs. I don't know if the Phillies can win this game, but my goodness, I expect good pitching performances, at least out of Ranger Suarez. I don't think we get 9 runs tonight.
I did the math for you, Donnie. So, you know, the magic number for the Phillies to take down the National League East is 11. It's 11. Any sort of combination of win, losses, Phillies, Mets will wrap it up there. But the Mets... Listen, if you're worried about the Phillies, I don't know if they can win it. I'm not sure Sean Manaea is the guy who's going to stop this bleeding here. I really not. We're talking about a guy that's got a 7.81 ERA across his last 6 starts, dating back to the beginning of August. It has not been good. Ranger Suarez, listen, he had some issues there over the last month or so, but still seems to have figured it out. 1.09 ERA in his last 4 starts. The Phils love playing at home. Yes, they're down a couple of bats, but man, do I trust the Phillies lineup more than I trust Manaea here, shutting down the Phillies. I think it's going to be all Ranger Suarez tonight.
Yeah, last 45 days. Manaea's interesting because analytics does love him. He's got a 6.21 ERA, which is horrendous, but a 3.19 Sierra. Something has to give tonight. I just look at this as one of those, again, playoff-type atmospheres, Joe. 3-2 type final score. That's why I'll bank this game on the under. Let's take a look at Detroit and New York. That's Mize versus Warren. Again, New York, not the Mets. This is the New York Yankees. A favorite at home for the Yankees, which opened up overnight around a minus 150 price. That's rising. You'll see the graphic coming up here at minus 156. Anywhere between that and 160 in the sports markets here. 8.5 as a total in this game. Mize versus Warren here. Yankees trying to still chase down those Toronto Blue Jays on their way to the playoffs. And Detroit just looking to secure seeding at this point.
Yeah, I mean, temperatures in the 60s, I believe,
I hate to
tonight
see it.
in the
Hate
Bronx.
to see it.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, I mean, it's wondering because the Yankees are in a battle, right? Trying to catch down the Blue Jays here. And I think it's a 2-game lead, but the Tigers are 9 games up in their division. So they're looking at the number 1 overall seed here. Urgency in the final 2.5, 3 weeks of the season. Not a whole heck of a lot here for Detroit. Mize seems to have figured it out last time out. But, I mean, they're going to need Warren to show up here. With him, it's either a fantastic quality start or he's out by the, 4th inning, Donnie, and things have fallen off the track. So I do think an over might be in play, though, in this game. I like both offenses to get some runs.
Yeah, mid-60s here in the Bronx and a wind blowing in. It's not the greatest temperatures. Just a couple weeks ago, it's like 88 degrees, wind blowing out. We need to get back because it certainly helps the baseballs travel into the seats, which means more runs and more opportunities for those prop bets here. Houston and Toronto, 7:07 start in the 6th tonight. Garcia and Bieber, that's the Astros and the Blue Jays. A price point here opening up around a -150, and now we see that into the 160s at some outlets here, and a total that's listed at 8.5. Almost a similar line move to what we saw between what we saw between Detroit and the Yankees. Now we're seeing with Houston and Toronto. Biebs is on the mound here. That guy let you down last time. What happened to the Biebs last start?
Yeah, well, last couple of starts, right, Donnie? He's kind of gotten beat up here a little bit and given up some runs. I mean, Garcia also wasn't great. Also had a problem there, but Toronto has always been very, very good at home. So, and we said this, they're a different team on the road than they are at home. I think, basically one bad inning is what did Bieber in his last time out. I like Toronto at home in this spot here. I think they can get it done. And we willing to do Blue Jays get to Garcia before the Astros get to Bieber. So a first 5 for me with the Blue Jays.
Milwaukee and Texas, Patrick versus Leiter on the mountain, an 8:05 start from Texas here, a -115 or so at the opening number. We're still seeing that across the board, so call it roughly a pick 'em depending on where you're shopping at, and a total that's listed at 8. Milwaukee, Texas. Now, Milwaukee's not struggling here. 5-game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies for that number 1 overall seed. They're just looking to pick up wins where they can get them tonight. Cheap price, though. You trusting Milwaukee here at that price, or Texas with one last stand for them on the Major League Baseball season?
Well, I mean, they have been red hot, right? So they've won now the opener here. They're getting it done without a couple of their best players, right? Their anchor of that rotation, Eovaldi gone, Seager gone. And yet the young guys really stepping it up. And they're not that far off, right? I mean, they gained a half a game in the American League West standings there. And now just 3.5 games behind the Astros. Yeah, I think it continues here tonight. I mean, Leiter's been very good at home. They've gotten a great season out of this rookie. Patrick, it feels like we're going to get bullpen game for Milwaukee. And that bullpen's a little worrisome because they've gotten a ton of work over the last month and a half here. So I think Texas can win this game again at home.
Cincinnati and San Diego, they're going to do it again tonight. Last night, an extra innings victory for the San Diego Padres. Zach Littell is going to go for Cincinnati. How about Michael King working his way back into that rotation for the San Diego Padres? That could be key for the playoffs, and people are buying in. This price point here on that placard, you'll see it a -184 price. It's now up to -196 as a favorite for the Padres tonight. 7.5's at the opening number. 8's now creeping into the sports betting markets here as we speak. You take a look at Cincinnati, now jumped here in the wild card race by the San Francisco Giants. Time running out for the Reds. They need victories, but the same thing can be said about the Padres trying to chase down the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Right, and what are we going to get from King? And this is the problem here, Donnie, right? I mean, last time he did this, he came out, it was nice, everyone was happy to get him back, and then what happens, Donnie? A couple innings later, or next start, he's scratched, he's got to go back on the IL here. So I appreciate him trying to make the comeback here, but it's impossible to lay that kind of number with a pitcher where we've been through this when he came back the last time and it didn't work. So I would lean towards the Reds here at this price because that's where all the value is right here.
Absolutely. And is there any value left in the Los Angeles Dodgers? As high yesterday as a minus 350 to minus 360 favorite. Get used to it, people. The Dodgers once again tonight with Emmett Sheehan on the mound. A minus 310 to minus 340 price, depending where you're shopping at. And the total that's listed at 9. Why is that? Because German Marquez. If Joe Ranieri and Donnie Rightside grabbed a bat, we could go 2 for 4 at least against German Marquez.
Yes, I mean, come on at this point. Could the Dodgers finally, should we go alternate market and lay 2 here, Donnie? What do you think? Absolutely not. I'm taking the 1.5 with Colorado. I do not trust the Dodgers laying that price against a feisty Colorado team.
Yeah, we'll take a look at some of the pitchers here over the past 45 days that you look at the roster and say, all right, who do you want to fade? German Marquez is dead last on my card today, Joe. 30 pitchers with at least 10 innings pitched over the past 45 days. He comes in here with a K percentage of 2.92 per 9 innings. It's all. I don't know if I've ever seen it, like maybe for 1 or 2 starts. This is 45 days that we're looking at. An ERA, Joe, of 10.95, a Sierra number, which is disaster mode at about 4.50. He's at a 7.23. His XFIP number, again, disaster mode around 5, 7.04. German Mark, can we get more than 3 runs out of the Dodgers tonight, Joe? What do you think?
What, maybe team total? Is that what you're thinking? Probably not. They'll probably get 2, Donnie, because that's exactly what the Dodgers do is $3 favorites.
Yeah, and as Joe points out, they'll get those 2. They'll get them in the bottom of the first inning, and then we'll scoreless in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth innings. You know the way they get down. You know who's coming up with us next. It's Adam Kaufman. Let's have some fun, talk more Major League Baseball, maybe sneak in some NFL.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're gonna have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month, that is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're gonna win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and a Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe, who I don't think is a great football team, but still a ranked team, and then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule I may have ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Rocking and rolling on the early line. It's only a Tuesday, people. We're getting you excited for the rest of the Major League Baseball card, what to look forward to in the NFL in week number 2, and also some college football action. It's how we get down. It's the morning. We set the table, ready for the SportsGrid Network and the rest of your day. Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri. Now we're bringing in Adam Kaufman to brighten your day just a little bit more. Look at him. He's like a bright sunshine ray out there for the network. Look at Adam go. Love it.
just the lighting. It's just the lighting, guys. Believe me, I'm just as tired as everybody else.
Hey, absolutely. And by the way, if you are tired of blowing leads like it's the bullpen in Major League Baseball, welcome to the NFL week number 1 and week number 2. Your mind will play tricks on you, no doubt about it. Let's focus a little bit on Major League Baseball, Adam. I love baseball. You love baseball. Just because it's September, we don't have to say, baseball moves out into the playoffs. I love September baseball, and I love some of the passion that it brings, which includes the city of brotherly love last night. Struggling on the mound was Aaron Nolan for the last couple starts coming off the IL. Oh, no, they need him to fill in here for Zach Wheeler down the stretch. He was sensational last night. That game was a 1-0 final. What are we looking at tonight? Manaea's on the mound going up against Ranger Suarez. Phillies are a favorite here. What you got?
More Phillies is what I expect anyway, and I know it's kind of easy to look at it that way and say, okay, well, which one is the better team? Which one's running away with the division? Obviously, that's Philadelphia. Not to discount what's remaining in these weeks of the regular season for the Mets. New York is obviously trying desperately to hang on to a wild card spot there in the National League and prove this season is not a flop after all the offseason investments. Thing is, I drill down, as you guys know, we've talked about it before a lot, on the pitching matchups. I think that's pretty important when it comes to these late season games, especially, less so some of the randomness that you get in the middle of the season. You expect guys to lock in, better teams to be the better teams, better pitchers to be the better pitchers. And Ranger Suarez, guys, generally speaking, has been dealing. You have a Philadelphia team that's won 7 out of 10, the Mets team, obviously, that is struggling with 3 straight losses. So you just consider that, but then you put Suarez against them, and he's only allowed 1 total run over his last 3 starts, 3 in his last 4 outings. Guy is just priming himself. He's readying himself for the playoffs the way that he is pitching right now. He's throwing like he's a number 1. And Manaea on the other side, it's not been a great season for him to begin with, and it's really been rocky of late. His last 28 innings, roughly, 24 runs allowed. I mean, we're talking about a guy with an ERA flirting around 9 during that stretch. So is he capable of righting the ship here in this one against Philadelphia? I mean, never say never. He was marginally better against the Phillies a couple of weeks ago, but I just don't see it. I think it's a particularly challenging game in Philly. Maybe I'd look at him a little, give him a little more consideration if this game were happening at Citi Field, but it's not.
Yeah, well, there is another game happening involving a New York team, the Yankees, taking on Detroit. Yankees have battled back, have an opportunity to get it to catch Toronto. Detroit, they're kind of coasting at this point. Not a lot to play for with a 9-game lead and the best record in Major League Baseball. What are we getting this one in the Bronx tonight?
I don't think you want bad habits. You're right, they're coasting, but they also look like, and this is another way of saying it, they look like they're mailing it in a little bit, Joe. I mean, you don't want to get into the playoffs. We've seen this. We've seen September meltdowns out of teams where, you're so great for months on end, and then either you fall apart late and you fall short, or you're one of these teams like the Tigers that should have a big enough lead that you still get there, but all of a sudden you haven't played meaningful baseball in a month and a half, and a series begins against a motivated team that's played important games for 2 months, and you're not ready. And so I think they need to try and find a way, obviously, to avoid that, kind of reframe themselves a little bit. Now, I like the Tigers today. What I will say is I like the Tigers first 5. I'm not certain they're going to go out and win this game, and I will also tell people, if you don't know already, this is a plus money spot. Detroit plus 120 in the first 5, right around plus 140 for the full game if you were to be so bold. Casey Mize coming off the 6-2 win against the Mets. He's, allowed 1 run in that one. Is kind of trying to round himself back into where he was in late July into mid-August. Faced New York months ago. It was all the way back in April, but it went well against this Yankees team. Only allowed 1 run over 6 innings. And on the other side, Warren, the reason in part Yankees, that's one, but also Warren has pitched really well. That's why they are understandably and deservedly favorites in this one. Really one bad outing that was against the Red Sox, spanning his last several starts going back to mid-July. But I think if you're looking for a Tigers team to kind of bounce back with the guy who should be the better pitcher on the mound for at least the start of the game, take the bullpens out of it again with the first 5, it's an attractive plus money opportunity.
I like this next game here that we're going to talk about. It's the Cubs and the Atlanta Braves. And you would say, okay, Horton versus Strider. Oh, Big pitching mismatch here. Man, Atlanta's got to be the right side here. Hold your horses, because over the past 45 days, you look at Cade Horton. I don't love ERA as a statistic, but .77, yeah, that sticks out. You take a look at Strider. Just look at his ERA, 7.75 in that same time frame, and he's terrible analytically here. Horton versus Strider, it's roughly a pick 'em. Strider should dominate. I don't know about that.
Well, you just said the key words to me. It's roughly a pick 'em. And so at that point in time, you know, you're looking at which pitcher is better, has been better, which team should have the more favorable matchup. Yes, it's in Atlanta, so that's not ideal, but the fact of the matter is we know the Cubs team can hit, and you couple that with obviously what Horton has done, as you said, the sub-1 ERA going back a while at this point. 11 starts. 11 starts I'm looking at it. He is the ERA that is in that vicinity of 1. That includes 5 innings of no-hit ball against the Braves. Oh, by the way, only last week. So this is a team that he is very familiar with. There's not going to have to be too much studying other than looking back at some of the video and seeing all the different things that he had going well and all the different ways that he was fooling these hitters. You know, I think if you were looking at this and saying, boy, I mean, he's like Cade Horton in this game is a -150 favorite. Okay, you know, maybe you reassess and you don't want to lay the juice. You're looking to parlay it with something. But when you can get them at -106 in the first 5, again, lean in on the starting pitcher and not worry about the bullpen screwing it up. That's where I'd want to go.
Absolutely. Quick one here on San Francisco and Arizona. The bats have come alive for the Giants, and they're closing in on maybe a wild card spot. What are you digging here quickly between the Giants and the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, this one's just kind of a gut feel for me, and I like the Giants' money line. You could do first 5 a little more juice or take the full game, which I'll do at -138. Fact of the matter is Zach Gallen has been really good for the Diamondbacks. So again, this is just sort of matching it up with, all right, San Francisco's won 7 out of 10. Arizona's kind of mailing it in. Look for San Francisco to stay hot.
That's Adam Kaufman bringing that heat early on a Tuesday morning right here on the SportsGrid Network.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're gonna have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month, that is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're gonna win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with obviously Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe, who I don't think is a great football team, but still a ranked team, and then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule they've ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Where does the time go? All the energy, all the impact, all the statistics, all the handicaps. We wind up on the shelf with a perfect 2-hour show. And that's the way we like to get down. As we always say, we start the table. Like we the fork, the knife, the plate, and away you go on the rest of your Sports Grid day. But this is the time of our program that we love to reach out to the people for our Fade the Public poll. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Most people wanted to cut J.J. McCarthy before the fourth quarter began yesterday. Glad you didn't in Minnesota, because he accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. They get a victory, and away they go on their season. So we asked you at SportsGrid, our Fade the Public poll. The simple question was, will J.J. McCarthy lead the Vikings to a playoff berth this season? Whoa, 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 whoa. 1-game performance in a tough division. I voted no, Joe, and so did 55% of the other voters here. Said the same thing. Do you agree or disagree that they're going to make the playoffs this year?
Yeah, well, it's wasn't impressed with Detroit, so that's a go. Obviously,
okay.
Chicago wasn't very good, so it's really Green Bay and Minnesota going to do some is going to battle here, but ultimately, I think there are going to be more growing pains here with with him under center. I love the coaching. That defense is going to keep him in games. I would tend to think that, while there will be some moments where he looks horrific, he's shown you that, you can't count him out here. And I love that defense of Minnesota. Yeah, I'm going to say yes, Donnie. I think he can absolutely. Good defense travels, smart offensive-minded head coach, and a kid that's a gamer. Yeah, I'll take a shot with Minnesota making the playoffs.
I mean, he could have went in the tank right away. You throw that pick 6 on the road, it's basically a wrap. Your offense stinks the whole night. Oh, no, am I going to get pulled in this game? What's going to go on? You have people tweeting out they should go get Kirk Cousins and bring him back to Minnesota. And everything changed in that fourth quarter here. We played well. We'll see if we can do it in week number 2. Now, Joe, we want to get back after it tonight. You got robbed yesterday again. The stick-up kid was out there taking your money last night away when you should have had a victory. I nailed my Major League Baseball play, but we got 2 more on deck for bye, bye, bye. We're going to send you out tonight, Joe, with security around you so nobody can rob you again tonight. Where are we going?
Well, hopefully you listened and you had that open-ended teaser backing the Bears at +7.5, because you can still have an opportunity this week. But tonight I'm going back to Major League Baseball, and I'm going to go to Atlanta, and I'm going to look at this first 5 battle between Spencer Strider for Atlanta and Horton for Chicago. Now, listen. Yes, you went over the numbers. Horton has been absolutely crazy, right? 1.23 ERA is the last 11 starts, 54 strikeouts, 58 2/3 innings. The kid has been dealing. Now, Spencer Strider is interesting to me because, yes, he's had a terrible year coming back off of injury. But he was supposed to start on Sunday, and Atlanta once again moved him back a couple of days so he could have some rest. And my question is, Donnie, why? Like, the season's over for Atlanta here. Why are we rolling him back out? Unless you're giving him an opportunity to work on some things and figure some things out. The bottom line is the Cubs are not destroying teams offensively. No Kyle Tucker still in here. Armstrong still questionable here. And Atlanta's not hitting the ball either. I mean, Acuna's in a total funk. They have not been able, I mean, just look at what happened there over the weekend when Seattle absolutely destroyed them. They only scored 4 last night, thanks to 2 home runs. I think the first 5 under 4.5 is the way to look at this one, Donnie. I think Strider is pitching, and they are treating him like they got something to show, they got something to prove. So I'm going to go the under in the first 5 here.
All right, let's go under there for me. I'm going to keep it in Major League Baseball. And the theme of the show is pick a Major League Baseball game and stay under the total. And that's what I'm going to do in Philadelphia when the Mets take on the Philadelphia Phillies. A 1-0 performance last night. Now, there's no real correlation to say, okay, that means they're going to be lower scoring tonight. But 2 lefties on the mound in a playoff type of atmosphere here. The Phillies down a couple of at-bats. Ranger Suarez has really bounced back well. And you want to say, like, well, Donnie, show him an eye. You can't really trust him all that much. A 6.21 ERA over the past 45 days. His analytical numbers, including Sierra, are 3.19. It's not a great Phillies offense right now. Ranger Suarez should pitch well. 2 decent bullpens. I don't see this game getting 9 runs. We're going under the total, Joe, in Philadelphia at 8.5 for yet another Major League Baseball victory. How's that sound?
Love it. Love it. I like the under there, too. Playoff atmosphere and two lefties, and that's the worst split for both the Mets and Philadelphia. They don't hit lefties as good as they hit righties.
For Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri, tomorrow's a Hump Day Wednesday. No better place to be than the Sports Grid Network to start your day bright and early once again with the Early Line. We'll see you then.